so excited today because finally we have Jo Fairley back in the office. We've done lives with her in the past. Many of you know her really well as co-editor of The Beauty Bible, a passionate chocolate and fragrance woman. You are the co-founder of the Perfume Society and edit the magazine.
I do, the scented letter.
Founder of Green and Black, which is my go-to chocolate in my thing, and still a chocolate ambassador.
I know, it's the best job in the world, Trinny.
I mean,
honestly.
that is like, I want to go into these chocolate ambassadorship. But the most importantly, I might need my glasses also, Poppy, but to look at questions. But I know Poppy's here behind the scenes to take questions, and we've got a ton of questions already sent in about fragrance, and we're going to talk today about fragrance. I'm going to talk about my favourite fragrances. You've got some of your favourite fragrances, or the one on the far right. One of my old favourites. My God, I'm so excited to smell that again. It's quite difficult sometimes to do fragrance on Facebook, but I think it's actually quite easy because I think we can evoke what things are smelling like. But if you're looking for your signature fragrance, if you're wanting to understand the difference between eau de parfum, eau de toilette, perfume, cologne, solid perfume, how they're made a little bit, the science behind it, Jo is going to answer those questions.
Going to do my best.
Layering is another thing. You know how much I
yeah.
love layering clothes. And can you layer fragrance? And are there rules to layering fragrances successfully? How do you get your body moisturizer not to fight in its fragrance with your fragrance? And that could be about looking for similar notes in some of them so they don't crossfire each other. So we're going to discuss...
answering all the questions.
We're going to discuss all of that. And also, like, how should you test fragrance? You know, is it the coffee bean? Is it smelling the fabric? How do you do it so that your nose doesn't get so confused after the third or fourth fragrance that you don't know and you choose the wrong thing, because then when you get home, your nose has actually given you a bit of the smell of the three previous ones and created another fragrance in your nose.
And a very expensive mistake to make.
Oh my God, yes. And let's just talk about how expensive fragrances are. And also, you know what I'd love as well? At the end, does Jo have any dupes for any expensive fragrances?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that now. I don't really. I think fragrance is something that you should invest in and treasure. There are some great inexpensive fragrances around, but I'm not mad about dupes actually, because I know so many perfumers and the world's great perfumers, and I don't really like their stuff being ripped off. But
I think when I say dupes, Jo, what I mean is, like, if you love Blenheim Bouquet, which is one of the ones I've got here, but you can't afford it, but you want that feeling of freshness and citrusness, would you go to 4711?
I would go straight to 4711.
I would go straight to 4711. So because I also hate people ripping off other people. When I go into Zara and I see they've ripped off designer, I want to say, you horrible thing. You know, that designer spent years going through design school, whatever, and you're ripping off her design. So let me rephrase that.
Okay.
You can't afford this one. What one
if
has
you
those
love
notes
this,
you
you'll
love?
also love
yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So I think we're going to start with a little thing here. Why are fragrances so linked to our emotions? Because to me, they really are. I want to set an emotion, or I'm feeling an emotion. I put different things on.
It's because of the design of the nose, and basically the nose is that bit of your olfactory kind of processing part is right in the brain.
By the pituitary gland?
Yes, okay. No, not the pituitary gland, but where the where emotions are next to it.
Yes.
So they are literally
physically
intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
And it's why you can smell something, and if if it was what your mum wore and your mum's no longer with you, it can make you burst into tears.
It's incredible.
It's amazing. Or it can kind of time travel you. You know, if I smell Shocking by Schiaparelli, which is the perfume that I wore on my wedding day, I'm in that pink dress, it's right there.
Can I say on that phrase, I'm so glad you finally taught me how to pronounce what I used to refer to as Schiaparelli.
No, Schiaparelli.
Oh my God, thank you, Jo. It needs wisdom from Jo so that I can not make a fool of myself.
But I don't think people should be put off by the fact that, there's a lot of people. I've got a Guerlain fragrance here. And, if you want to say Guerlain or Guerlain, it's fine. I'm very anti-perfume snobbery.
Yes, I am too, but also, can I just say, in Guerlain, how do I say, is it Mitsuko?
Mitsuko.
It is Mitsuko. Okay,
and we're going to come on to that because it is probably the world's greatest fragrance.
Oh, that's from Jo. All right. So I love that, and I think also it's more than taste or what you hear. I think it is the nose. Can you, some people really identify smells better than others. Why is that?
It's partly to do with how, I mean, we're not taught to talk about smell. In fact, smell for many years in the UK, you know, in Britain, in Victorian Britain, it wasn't a nice thing at all, and we lost the culture of talking about smell.
Is it because there were so many bad smells around?
It was so many bad smells, and it was rather, not nice. But for me, what's important is not to be able to try to identify, this is a rose. Most of us can identify a rose,
yes,
but
I agree.
we might not be able to identify patchouli or rosemary or, or aldehydes and all the other things that, fragrance writers put in their copy, etc. But we can all talk about how something makes us feel, and going back to that emotions aspect of it. And for a long time at the Perfume Society, we ran courses in how to improve your sense of smell. And it wasn't about teaching people to identify notes. It was literally, there's an exercise you can do, and if you do it every day for about 3 weeks, it's just phenomenal what happens. But you wake up in the morning, you spray 3 things on a blotter. Everyone needs some blotters.
Yeah. Can we do this now?
Yeah.
3 things, like 3 fragrances.
3 fragrances.
On a blotter.
On a blotter.
Okay.
You do 3 of yours.
Yep, I'm going to do it.
And what you do is you sort of free associate. And so you write down, if it was a colour, what would it be? If it was a person, who would it be? If it was a piece of music, what would it be, etc.
Yeah.
And it seems so random, but I got this technique from 3 of the greatest names in fragrance in the world. So one was a man called Jean Carliot, who worked for Jean Patou, who created Joy, and set up the Osmothèque, which is a perfume museum in Paris. One was Karin Khoury, who was the creative director of all of Estée Lauder fragrances for many, many years. And the third one was Jacques Cavalier, who created things like L'Odyssée for Issey Miyake, and also is now the in-house perfumer at Louis Vuitton. And basically, they all told me the same thing, which was that what perfumers do is to lodge a fragrance, a smell, in their brain while they're learning these 4,000 different notes. They write down what it reminds them of.
Okay. So.
And that's what you do. So,
okay, that reminds me. I don't know what I put on first because that's really
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's
fine.
about you're actually trying to divorce yourself from what you know it is. And write down.
You know what it is? It's memory palace.
Exactly.
It's memory palace, which is something that Charles, my partner, does, and he has he has memory of an elephant, and he is 20 years older than me, but he does the memory palace, and he learned it many years ago, and it's about putting these. You put these memories in, and you do an association.
Yeah,
or a
an
word
association.
Which then associates. It's fantastic. Okay,
So,
I love that.
so if you write, and what happened to me, I did it for 3 weeks. They said they all said the same thing. I said, how can I improve my sense of smell? And they taught me this exercise or a variation.
And also, you're
on
improving your memory at the same time. By the way, if you want to do this as a memory exercise, and feeling your memory is going.
A phenomenal thing happened. So I did it for 3 weeks, and I realised that not only was I being able to identify things better, but the distance from which I could smell extended and extended and extended.
For
so my
other things.
nose was becoming like a kind of, it had gone from a 7-stone weakling to a, Superman. And there was a point at which I came out of a hotel in Copenhagen, just outside Copenhagen, middle of nowhere, and I could smell curry. I thought, that's really weird. I don't remember seeing a curry restaurant. It's literally a deserted area. I walked along Canal. The curry restaurant was a kilometre from the hotel, and I could smell those
You were like
spices.
the protagonist in Perfume by Suski.
Yes, but I realised that that's what our noses are meant to be able to do. And we've lost it.
Yeah,
we've lost that
'Cause when we
connection,
were
but you can get it back.
We were smelling to find our prey and smelling to find things.
So
I love that.
everyone can improve
All
their
right,
sense
so
of
that's
smell,
how we
and
do.
it's not about technical stuff. It's literally about, what does it make me think of?
Okay, great. I love that.
Challenge
Good test.
you to
Okay.
do this for 3 weeks.
Okay, challenge. Are we going to take on that challenge? I think we should. Poppy, questions, darling.
True or false? You should spray your hair with perfume too.
Okay, so you can spray your hair with perfume. In fact, Estée Lauder always used to say that you should spray the air and walk through the cloud of perfume, because then it actually goes on your clothes as well. Perfume can have a lot of alcohol in it, and so actually there are a lot of hair perfumes that have
got more oil in
come
them,
out, and
like
they're
the diptyque ones. Yeah.
Exactly, they're specifically designed to be hair friendly.
Yeah.
So I would say yes, on an occasional basis, it's fine. But if you keep doing it, you're going to get some dry hair
I would say
problems.
if you take an eau de parfum in your hands and then you do that, you've got the least amount of alcohol. And if you take a spritz, you're going to dry out your hair. But it's similar to, lots of people come up to me and say, how can I get rid of the pigmentation here? And I go, you sprayed fragrance around your neck, didn't you? And then you go in
went
the
to the
sun,
which is a real
that
no-no.
is something that lots of women might not realize they're doing. So when you're spritzing fragrance and it's summer, really be aware that if you do
clothes,
you're going to have, and we both have a mutual friend, Jill, who's the co-founder of Victoria Health, who can't take many fragrances, so she always sprays her clothes. It does mean that you've got to kind of, if you want to change fragrance, you've got to send them to the dry cleaner if they're coats and stuff, but sometimes
I don't know. I think it's, I mean,
you're layering.
Exactly. I've just got this out of the drawer. I probably can't. I haven't worn it for a while, but if you open my wardrobe, it's got lots of lovely smells in it, and I love the fact that I put something on. I go, oh, I've just remembered. I completely love Penhaligon's Belgravia Sheep Brew, you know, and I must get that bottle out again.
That's kind of That's very true.
I don't think it matters if you spray your clothes, but so you can spray your hair, but be careful.
Yeah. All right. How can you layer fragrances? Because I think this is an interesting one, and especially if you've got, body. I mean, some people might buy Chanel what's the number one? The Chanel number 5. Like Lila has the body lotion and everything, layers it, and then she comes out of the bathroom and I'm like, oh, it's too much. So is it good to layer the same fragrance? Because a lot of companies will think, you love the fragrance, let's sell it to you in 19 different ways.
Well, really interesting. That's really come back into fashion. All the kind of scented body care disappeared for a while, and now it's all come back again.
Why did it disappear?
I don't know. I think people weren't buying it. It wasn't fashionable. But now it's come back into fashion. I love the fact that you can buy the body lotion. And sometimes the body lotion or the cream is all you need
to get the
smell. Yeah. And I do believe in layering, and I mean, she might smell a bit powerful when she's walking straight out the bathroom, but it does fade over the day. However, by putting on a lotion underneath or a cream underneath your fragrance, and it could be an unscented one,
it's going to make it stick.
It's going to make it stick because fragrance likes to cling to oil, and so people who say that fragrance fades on them very quickly tend to have very dry skin.
So if you do an unscented body lotion and then put that on top.
But in terms of layering different fragrances, I think it's absolutely, it's a bit like your house. You put all these objects together and it works because you like them all.
Yes.
I'm the same with fragrance. I have quite a random selection of fragrances, but actually in terms of layering them together with body lotion or cream or bath products or soap, it kind of works because I like them. And we tend to have a kind of scent, I don't know what you call it, a footprint or personality, and be drawn to similar types of scent.
Yes, we do.
So we tend, there's fragrance families. If you look on the Perfume Society website, that explains all the fragrance.
And can I just say what I love about this is that if you like a particular fragrance, you can see what other fragrances have the ingredients that fragrance has. I think it's one of the best things you do on the Perfume Society because it inspires you to then think, I'll try that one now because I like this family. Tool.
It's very, very clever. And honestly, we do tend to have we might not like to think we tend to have quite narrow fragrance preferences.
I mean,
most
look
people.
at this, that's quite narrow. I'm kind of like
you're a
fig,
citrus.
grapefruit, citrus, fig, grapefruit, citrus. We'll go over some of our favourites. In fact, let's have an interstitial now and let's each bring out a favourite fragrance we love.
Favourite fragrance we love.
You might not want to, you could do the
I'm going to talk about number 5, Low.
What number 5, Low? Meaning
so it's
the least
the watery version. It's actually a whole different fragrance, but sort of a spin around number 5.
So it's got the ingredients of number 5, but
some
in
of
a
the
different phase.
It's an echo, but it's more transparent. It's more sheer. It's fresher, etc. And so, if anybody's ever kind of dismissed number 5, which I have, everyone should wear it at some point. Then this is a really fabulous innovation. It came out about 5 or 6 years ago, and I love this in the summer. And it. I think we're going to talk a bit about finding your signature fragrance. And
is there vanilla in this?
There's vanilla in number 5, and number 5 Low. And I just love this. And I wore it for a big birthday celebration in Paris of mine. And of course now whenever I smell it, I'm right there.
That's so lovely.
I'm
that's
right
really
there.
Nice. I tell you what I think when I smell it. It's not my family.
No.
Because it's very sweet. But it's not as cloying as the original number 5 in my mind from a citrusy sort of androgynous fragrance place.
I think for some people, number 5 is a bit like putting on mummy's shoes. You know, it's a little bit, you sort of have to grow into it. But I think when it comes to having a signature scent, if we're looking for a signature scent, it's quite important not to choose some really obscure startup brand or some small
case what?
perfume
You can't
house.
keep buying
In
it.
case they go out of business and you can't get it
All right,
anymore.
so I'm gonna
when it comes to
start with-
signature, I recommend
All right.
familiar brands
Okay,
who
so
are
I-
likely to keep things in their portfolio.
Okay, so for my signature,
Yeah.
I've done diametrically opposite of what you suggest, because this is by a man called Samuel Gravin.
Well, then buy 25 of them now.
I have got about 30, actually, but there's an issue here, because Samuel Gravin, who I wish was here today, Jo, because I've never corresponded on a romantic level with anyone else since my partner, because we talk romance about fragrance, and he lives in Australia, he's French, he might be Belgian, so I feel really bad to say that, but I went into Bondi Sands, which is in Australia. Some people who've known Australia will know it. And I found this woody fig from Samuel Gravin for Bondi Sands. And I put it on, and I just thought, I'm in love. And so he sent me more, and sending fragrance is quite difficult from Australia.
From Australia.
So then he also was making a whole new batch.
Can I smell it?
Yeah, wait a second.
Oh, right.
He was making a whole new batch, and the fragrance smelled differently. And I said, Samuel, what's happened? I sent this panicked email, and he said, you know, and he talks with such love about the barrels he puts it in, and where he gets the trees for the barrels, and these old barrels he gets from here, and how he, you know, it's like he is somebody who is a one-man band, and if he dropped down tomorrow, I wouldn't have this fragrance. So it's going against everything you say, but I love it. Okay, there.
Oh, it's lovely. It's very it's citrusy, but it's quite grounding, and
Yeah.
it's got an earthy. Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah, it's not too light citrusy, and it's not exotic citrusy. So what's
It's
in
absolutely
it?
fabulous, actually.
Fig, benzoin, which I don't know what it is. Sandalwood
That's
is
a
the grounding
resin.
one.
Yeah, and the
So the
sandalwood is
benzoids
grounding.
are grounding. Cedar, citrus, basil, and Siberian fir.
Yeah, so you've got quite a lot of things in there which are sort of base notes which will tether it on the skin. So things like resins and woods, etc., last much, much longer on the skin than the citrus notes. So the citrus notes will go away, and then you'll be left with the woods on your
Those
skin.
base notes,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's great. All right,
Love
another
that.
question.
Another
Someone
question.
said, is it true that perfumes can go off?
Yes.
Can I'm going to, I think we have to define the word go off, because
Yeah.
I think I've spoken to you before about my friend, whose name I won't say because she wouldn't like me to say, but she has about 6,000 bottles, all right? And whenever I've been away with her, she will be in a little pharmacy in Greece, and she will look at the top shelf, and she'll see some dark bottles in the background, probably haven't been near the sunlight, this is the one thing.
Yeah.
And she'll say, oh my God, that's Le de Temps from 1975, I want it.
Yeah.
And she'll have Le de Temps, is it Nina Ricci? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Nina
But
Ricci.
she'll have like 1970, 75. It's like a vintages, and they all smell different. Now, do they smell off or not? It depends.
No, I think you know when a fragrance smells off. It just smells a bit, I don't know, cheesy or
just like grandma.
off kilter, like grandma or sour.
Sorry, that was mean to grandma, but like you know, grandma's handbag kind of thing.
So, I love the smell of grandma's
Yeah, I
handbag,
know,
actually.
but I
but it just smells wrong. It doesn't
Yeah.
smell like you remember it smelling. And the key is sunlight. The
Okay.
key is sunlight and heat. And actually, you know, bottles are so beautiful, and we so love
want
displaying
to
them
have them
on
out,
our
yeah.
dressing table. Which is fine as long as your dressing table is nowhere near any daylight.
Yeah.
And actually, if you can bear to keep it in the box, it makes the most enormous difference. So my
why do
shopping
they then create
from,
these beautiful? I mean,
I
you
know,
keep that in a box,
no,
Jo?
I know,
You
but
know?
you have to keep it away from sunlight
Yeah.
and away from heat, and it will last infinitely longer.
Like infinitely, like years.
Years
Yeah,
longer.
all right.
So much so that, I mean, I haven't bought a bottle of Shocking since I got married 31 years ago.
It's
and
still-
it
you still-
still smells.
Well, that's
because I
incredible,
keep it
actually.
in a drawer, in
Yeah.
a box,
Yeah.
out of daylight.
Yeah.
And when I go back to it, it smells exactly the same.
That's incredible.
So that's like a controlled experiment in
Yes.
keeping things in their
Yes, it
boxes.
is.
But actually, the other thing that's really good is dark glass.
Yeah.
So a fragrance will last better in dark glass.
I want
because
to see
that's
what this is.
It's suede orris from Molten Brown. Should we smell
Let's
it?
try it,
Should we
because
do it?
I mean, Molten Brown to me has nostalgic memories of the sort of grapefruity one. You know, all the things for bathroom, but I've never smelt fragrances or considered that they would be nice.
Oh, they've got some amazing fragrances, and if you go
smell it
into
from here,
that's really, it's called suede orris, and it really is suedey to me. It's really
Yeah, it
soft,
is.
leathery, with iris Orris is the kind of technical word for iris.
Yeah.
And that has a kind of suede buttery quality to it naturally as a fragrance note. And I really love that. And what's really interesting is that they offer a fragrance profiling service in the Molton Brown stores.
How many fragrances do they have?
They've got a lot
Really?
now.
Because I never think about them as a fragrance house.
It's dozens now, and they really should be thought of as a fragrance
All
house.
right, we're thinking of them as a fragrance house.
And slightly hilariously, Susie Nightingale, who's the writer for the Perfume Society and for the Scented Letter, and we weirdly have identical taste in fragrance. Identical. I can smell something and go, Susie, you're going to love this. And we both got fragrance profiled by Molton Brown, and they, out of 72 options, they came up with the same one for Susie and I. So it works. It definitely works.
I like it. I mean, it's unusual, and it's not too sweet. It's not citrusy. It's just it sits there in a very interesting place. Yeah,
and almost skin-like, actually.
It's sensual. That's a nice way to put fragrance without being sexual.
And yes, I think it was really interesting in lockdown because fragrance sales boomed, and obviously we weren't going out and pulling partners and seducing the opposite sex, and
which is what you do as soon as you came out of lockdown.
Well, possibly.
Yeah.
But I think what it proved is that we don't buy fragrance for other people.
Yeah.
We actually buy it for our own pleasure and our own enjoyment. And all the marketing for the perfume world for kind of years has been slewed towards attraction and all that kind of thing. Actually, we wear it for us.
Yeah, and I think also maybe in lockdown we learned to do that more because we wanted to give ourselves a treat.
We wanted to give ourselves a treat.
Complicated.
And I think it was grounding. I mean, for me, fragrance is a grounding thing. It reconnects me with my body. It's. I think we're going to talk a little bit about the idea of wellness scents, etc. But fragrance for me definitely shifts my mood and puts me back in my body. It
well, I think we
reconnects
can
me
go
with my
straight
senses.
to that because I'm going to go for something that I know from a kind of sense of aromatherapy that pink grapefruit is very uplifting, like neroli for depression and pink grapefruit. They live in the same family, and whenever I used to go and have this facial with this woman who was a bit of a woo-woo, could sense my mood.
We love those.
And she would then at the end, if I was feeling a bit flat, she'd do this with this red grapefruit and do that. And I literally felt a kick. It was incredible. So as a result, I think I've always been attracted to something with grapefruit in it. And it also is a memory for me because my mother would take me occasionally to Forestmere Health Spa.
Oh yes, marvellous
in Surrey, I think, and Hampshire. And I would have to sit with my mother and have half a grapefruit in the morning. I just remember this. And I was thinking, what am I doing here? I'm like, this is my mother's idea of a holiday. And so I literally sprinkled 4 teaspoons of sugar on the grapefruit. And it gave me a nice smell. So anyway, this reminds me of that grapefruit moment more than any other grapefruit scent.
I don't always love grapefruit scents, but that's gorgeous. Grapefruit Generation.
Do you know these people?
DS and Durga. Yes, it's a husband and wife couple, and they started.
They have 3
in Brooklyn.
They
started in Brooklyn, and they're super cool, and they're now all over the world, basically.
Yeah, I found this actually in Amsterdam, and they have the one which has those beautiful bottles, which are all painted. That was their first company, and I had one jasmine and grapefruit, and then this is a move on. But I just
that's lovely. That's lovely. So I think I always talk about. I mean, there are 2 schools of thought on perfume. You either have a signature scent, which is your what people recognise you by always. So they can walk into a room where you've been,
like
and they
Fakar of signature scents.
Absolutely.
These very
or Chanel
evocative scents,
5, or Shalimar, or things where people are going to remember you by it, and every time they smell it, they're going to think of you. And obviously that's really what our mothers did, and it's a perfectly valid way to wear perfume. It means that people aren't going to screw up on your Christmas present because they're going to buy something that they know you love. But for me, I use fragrance almost like a toolbox. I don't call it a wardrobe of fragrances. I call it a toolbox of fragrances because I wear them to put me in different states of mind, or to make me to change my persona. And for example, there's a Frederic Malle fragrance called Lipstick Rose, and I swear when I put it on, I turn into a little French woman, and I'm wearing a tailored jacket, and I stand that little bit taller, and it has a kind of miraculous effect. The same with if I'm in London, which I live in Hastings, I find it stressful sometimes, Oxford Street particularly.
Yes.
I go into Selfridges, I spray myself with Chanel Sycamore, which is a wonderful
I've never
vetiver,
known Chanel Sycamore.
woody.
We have to write that one
and
down.
honestly, I swear my blood pressure goes down 10 points. And so I think you can use fragrance in that way. As a toolkit where you want to feel a particular way, and you know that if you put that on, it's like a trigger.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to put this on you and tell me what you feel when you rub that in. We'll give you a tissue. I think we might need tissue after this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You just put cleanser all over my hand.
I know, but I want to know what you feel, because when I created this smell, I want to know if you feel what I want you to feel.
I feel calm. I feel fresh but calm. What am I meant to feel, Trin?
Well, I wanted it to feel that there were enough herbs in there, like rosemary and thyme, to give you that medicinal feeling. But in the distance, there was a sort of field of wild flowers, which are giving you that slight floral scent.
Yeah.
Floral scent wasn't
the
overwhelming.
there is. It's a combo.
Yeah.
Also, I am now covered in about 7 other things.
Yeah, but it's grounding, and I think that's what I feel.
I think, and certainly
should be
in a cleanser at the end of the day, you don't want something that's going to, zing
Take
you
over.
up and make you awake before
Questions,
bedtime.
Poppy.
Yes, is there any truth about sniffing coffee beans?
Yes, let's talk about how we clear our nostrils. So let's say you're in Space NK or you're in Selfridges or Harrods or some place where there's a ton of fragrances, and you want to choose the right one and you don't want your nose to lead you in the wrong direction. What do?
You do not smell coffee beans, because coffee beans are another smell. They're another aroma. And what you do is you kind of sniff your skin so that you're literally blocking your
So sniff skin that hasn't
sniff
got
skin
smell
that
on
hasn't
it.
got smell on it, so that you literally block the airflow.
Okay.
And it is really weird, but it resets your smelling potential. It's you can suddenly smell things again afterwards, and I think you're just kind of recalibrating by doing that.
I do something slightly different, because I worked for a year with Caron in Paris, and I worked with the nose, and he was a very old-fashioned nose with a lot of things around. It was, kind of his testing for me. What's this? And we did that for a few months. But he would tell me always to smell my clothing, because the fibres of my clothing would clear my nostrils a bit.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, that's true as long as you don't
As you
do
think
what I
I'm going
do.
to. Sorry, you really. I mean, it could have been there that I was snorting into my corner of my elbow, but I am actually sniffing in.
Yeah. It's fine as long as your clothes don't smell of dry cleaning
Yes,
fluid, or they
that's
don't
very
smell
true. Yes.
of the perfume that
Yeah.
you've sprayed on your clothes.
Very true.
So your skin is a very good way to do that.
Right,
But the coffee
great.
beans are a bit of a.
What are they?
doesn't
They're
really
just
work.
like, okay,
It's
so
a trick. It's a
trick.
gimmick.
It's a retail trick. All right, another question, Pops.
Could I wear a male's fragrance, like one marketed to men?
I mean, I
God,
do that the whole time.
The whole point is there are no rules.
There's no rules, and
There's
also I
no
think we live in a
rules.
totally metrosexual society. But let's go on to my two favourite
Oh,
fragrances.
Blend and Bouquet.
Yeah, I mean, used to be Guerlain's Vetiver, but it became a little chemical.
Yes,
and changed.
It has
So some
definitely
fragrances
changed a bit.
when
Usually because of regulations, which mean that you have to lower the level of certain ingredients, and a clever perfumer can work around that very often. I mean, Mitsuko, I can tell you a story about, but basically with Mitsuko stopped smelling the way it did, and I was heartbroken, because that is, if I had one fragrance for a desert island, it would be Guerlain Mitsuko. And the current perfumer, Thierry Vasseur, reinvented Mitsuko, and it went back to smelling
Fantastic.
how
So
it
he
did.
found other
And he
things
said-
to balance it.
So basically, it was to do with oak moss, which is this wonderful natural ingredient, which you can only use to. There are certain parts of it that are not good on skin. It's toxic. So they have. It's a very technical process called fractionation. Clever chemists can remove the bit that's irritating, but as he put it to me, when you take something out, you leave a hole, and so the perfumer's job is to fill the hole, and he used two things. He used carrot, who knew, and something called lentisque, which is a resin, and it magically,
Fantastic.
his genius and the genius of perfumers is to know how to fix that problem. And because Guerlain are massive, their fragrance is absolutely at the heart of what they do. They allowed him to do that rather than just going, oh, well, we can't use that bit anymore, so we'll just take it out.
Yeah.
When you take something out, you have to replace it in order to keep it the way it was. So I don't know why they haven't done that with Vetiver, but it definitely doesn't smell quite the same as it.
I mean, I think that sometimes you'll get a change when a company has bought another company and they want to reduce the cost. That's the only other thing when they go back.
Yes,
Remind you of Blend and Bouquet. So Blend and Bouquet is a quite masculine fragrance, and its notes in it, I can't hang on, Blend and Bouquet. It's lemon, lavender, and pine. I think. Yeah, but it's
they have this in the amenities, all the little bottles of things in the bathroom of where I go on holiday. So to me, that is.
Do they? God, that's a nice place to go on holiday. Where do you go?
The one and only in Dubai.
And they have that.
They have it in the bathroom.
I mean,
so for me, I'm on holiday now.
You're on holiday now. That's wonderful. I mean, this is also. I'd say this is more for 7-Eleven. But when I can't afford Blend and Bouquet, all right, I then go to Roger Gallet. And I use their old one, which I used to call Imperial, but it's not called Imperial.
It's called Jean Farina. It's the eau de cologne. It's the original Jean Farina eau de cologne, which is actually made to the original recipe for eau de cologne. It's a really, it's like 300 years old recipe that smells amazing, and I absolutely agree. And I think, you know, if we're going to talk about cost of perfume, you can find amazing fragrances at every price point, right from Roger and Gallet, which they have some absolutely beautiful fragrances, and that, I don't know, $14.95.
I know, they're brilliant.
Something.
But I do prefer. Sometimes I can see when a company has gone to saying let's do another 10, and they feel more chemical. Whereas this, to me, still feels
that's still very authentic.
But there's a few of Roger Gallet which I feel they did. Let's do a series of 8, and suddenly they all felt what I call fake. But
I think they've pared that down to a really
good
rock
amount.
Solid collection now.
Fantastic. All right,
and they are amazing value. And I think you know, the point is you don't have to spend £240 on a fragrance.
Yeah. What fragrance is £240?
Many niche fragrances are £240.
Okay. I didn't know that.
And you know, we've all got birthdays, we've all got, you know, we can save up for them, etc. But it is, especially now, it's a lot of money.
It's a hell of a lot of money.
And so actually, I would do a tiny plug here for the Perfume Society's
Discovery
boxes,
because
this is a way to try things. So this was the Platinum box, which came out recently, and within it, and it's a really, I have to say, I mean, you know, I'm not commercially involved with them anymore, but it is a very, very good way to try fragrances.
Well, look how many came in this.
Absolutely.
I mean, can I just like show how full the box is first? Because that's amazing how many things are in here.
And you've got everything, you know, you've got Floral Street's new one, which is the Sunflower Pop. You've got Florist Platinum 22, which was brought out for the Jubilee.
So these are some new ones. Are there some old ones as well?
To the Fairest, you've got Wellbeing, you've got Penhaligon's The Favourite, which is fabulous.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet. I'm going to try that
you've
now.
got, and you've got a whole, Yardley's English Lavender soap in that. So these are, I mean, it's £23 for the box, and you've got an Atkinson's, you've got Ruth Massenbrook, fabulous British
That is
perfumer.
so great.
And the point about this is that you can try things at your leisure.
Yeah.
Because
you're not in a fragrance. You're not in a department store.
In a department store, and so I think it's worth telling people how to try fragrance, which is don't rush it, because you end up making expensive mistakes. And go into a department store, spray. Well, first of all, the best thing to do is literally sniff
the bottle head.
Sniff the bottle head, because the essential oils collect around the nozzle, and that is your first introduction to what that perfume smells like. And if they've got the cap, again, the inside of the cap usually, it's new, so it probably won't smell so much. But it does smell authentically of what that fragrance is like once it's matured,
dissipated, which is very different from spraying freshly. That's a really good point.
So if you then think, oh, I like that, I'm going to spray, and then you spray it on a blotter, and you have to write down on the blotter what the name of the fragrance is, because otherwise you are going to forget, because I do this for a living and I still forget what I've sprayed. Take your time. Maximum 6, maximum 6, and then take yourself off and have a cup of coffee and smell them again. They'll smell different after 15 minutes.
But the thing is, they're on this. That's going to be very different from being on your skin,
yeah.
Jo.
So then, when you've narrowed it down further, you go back and you choose up to 3 that you think,
Dot around the skin.
So you put one on left wrist, one on right wrist, one on a crook of an elbow, but no more than 3. And then you live with them. You don't make an instant decision. You walk away, and actually all good fragrance consultants in stores understand that customers need time to make up their mind about buying something.
Yeah.
They don't
won't
rush
rush
you.
They're very...
They'd much rather you bought something you loved and you came back to buy a bottle of it a second time and a third time, than that they kind to push something at you that wasn't the right thing, and you go home resenting that brand forever, basically. So
it's so amazing. I just put Mitsuko on, but it's such a complex fragrance because it's not sweet in any way.
no, but you see, I spent a day doing a Guerlain workshop to find my perfect Guerlain, and that was the one, and I
used
wear
to
it
wear
every
Chamade.
Christmas day.
Oh, do you?
It's so sort of spicy and warm.
How many
and
fragrances
grown up.
do you wear a year?
20?
Yeah.
I mean, probably no more than that. I have more, but I have work for, it's like the toolbox thing. I have work fragrances. I have getting dressed fragrances. I have
Inspired fragrances.
Yeah, exactly. It's
content.
the toolbox.
Yeah.
The toolbox.
Can I go on to another one which I think is interesting? This is the Functional company. It's a new company, but they've done something called functional fragrance. So what they're doing, I want you to explain to me what they're doing here, because it does smell a little bit of fig to me, which I love.
Yeah.
All right, just to remind ourselves of that smell. But this is, they just have this at the moment, or maybe they have another couple. But how is it working?
So, I think we've discussed how fragrance affects our mood, and there is a real trend in fragrance towards well-being fragrances, and in fact in the next issue of the Scented Letter we've got a big focus on well-being fragrances, and this idea that they are being specifically formulated and in many cases scientifically researched to have an effect on your mood.
Because this is to calm and
absolutely, to
decenter,
calm and recenter, which we all need at various points in our day. So this started to be talked about in the 80s as something called aromatology, and then it kind of died a death, and it's come back with a bang. And there are many brands now that there's people like Edenice, there's things like Vireo, who are putting well-being at the heart of their. They still smell fabulous, but they like fragrance plus. They're kind of fragrance meets aromatherapy. And actually, I just think that that's tapping into and quantifying what perfume naturally does.
And also going back to what you were saying, that we're buying it more for ourselves than other people.
We're
so
buying
therefore,
it for ourselves.
That messaging as to how to decide what we want to buy is evolving.
But what's happening now is that scientific research is being put behind it, as opposed to just
a marketing tool.
A marketing tool. So it actually is being measured and quantified, and I think it's a really exciting trend in fragrance. And they still smell great. I mean, it's not like
this, I love the smell.
a lot of aromatherapy blends you wouldn't put on your skin. They're lovely to have in the bath or when you're having a treatment, but you wouldn't necessarily wear it as a smell. Whereas these are constructed from the get-go as a therapeutic fragrance. Can I just also say that if anybody goes to the Perfume Society website, you can't get a free print copy because we sell those, but the magazine is now available for anybody to read online.
Fantastic.
And
so what kind of things are they going to find in it?
Oh my goodness me. So you've got stories here. The whole theme of this issue is roses, because this summer in fragrance there was a huge, the rose really came back, and it's not your granny's rose, it's modern roses. So we've got a lot on modern roses. We've got Matthew Williamson talking about his favourite smells. We've got, this is so fun, we do this every day, I think you've done it for us in the past, Smellfy Day. And basically on the 21st of March, which is National Fragrance Day, people post selfies of themselves with fragrance, and we call them Smellfies. And they're so creative. I mean, we've got pages and pages of it. There's an interview with an amazing French perfumer who grows his own roses and tuberose, etc., called Aurélien Guichard. There's a story about petrichor, which is it's a technical term, but it's that smell if you walk out of a house on a summer's night and it's rained and there's that
jasmine.
well, no, it's more the tang of the pavement. You know, that slightly metallic. It's called geosmin, and it's the smell of rain on earth or rain on pavement.
Yeah.
And in perfume, it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it can evoke the smell of thunderstorms and rain. And so we talk about that, and then Perfume Bottles Auction, which happens in New York every year, which is 4 pages of swoon-worthy bottles,
which you are going to keep out. And look at, just want to check.
Mostly empty by now. And then latest launches, which we do every issue, which is basically your finger on the pulse point of everything that's happening. So,
wonderful.
you know, I mean, it's an absolute labour of love. Do this with basically 2 of us. But it's the only perfume magazine in the world,
Is it
The
really?
Scented Letter. It's
Incredible.
just blows my mind that nobody else is doing
But
it.
how nice that you can own it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nice you can own. Can I just say it's been such a joy having you. And I think we've learned a lot. I hope you've learned a lot listening to this. I feel I've been opened up to the world of how I'm going to think about fragrance. I love this idea of your fragrance toolbox as opposed to wardrobe. I'm going to really take that one away. What are you going to take away from this, Poppy?
I'm going to take away that I need to start getting experimental.
More experimental.
smells.
And, you know, I love the fact that brands like Floral Street now are doing small sizes. So you've got
I
our
don't know
tiny,
Floral Street,
tiny, oh, they're a great brand. I mean, look, this is also a demonstration of how fragrance is moving in a more sustainable direction, which has obviously got to happen.
Yeah.
But look at this cool packaging. It's basically no cellophane, no plastic. You get it comes in an entirely recyclable cardboard box.
Let's show them that properly.
So that, and you get
you get
hair
a scrunchie,
thing.
so it came like that.
They have a refill service at their boutique in Covent Garden, which refills are really the way forward.
Yeah.
And then this inner carton comes out, and I have tried this. You can use that as a seed tray, folks, in your greenhouse.
Lovely,
or
Jo,
grow
you would
mustard
know
and
that.
cress.
And then I will take out. Can I take out this?
Yeah, you take that
and
out
actually use it as a hair
you can
tie.
use it as a hair tie.
I love that.
So-
Everything is to be used.
But they start with a 10 ml size, and you know, I think fragrance houses are realizing that actually, realistically, we can't necessarily. I mean, this fragrance. Can we just talk about Portrait of a Lady before we go?
Yes, come on. I need to smell it again because
So
I
this
can't
is one of
remember why
those
people
fragrances
love
where
it.
you
Yeah.
can pay £240.
Is this how much it is?
Yes,
Oh
but
my
this
God.
bottle is not. I think it's 115. It's a smaller size. You can, and that is something
Have you
that I
smelled
think.
this?
Oh my God!
Smell. Do you know
This
it
is
smells?
something that I think is a signature scent.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
the amount that Jo just sprayed on herself. I feel, yes,
the whole
definitely.
office can smell it now.
A signature scent. Interesting, isn't it?
It's rose, it's oak moss, it's the most incredible fragrance. So that's at the other end. You know, these are the fragrances you save for and you treasure, and you spray probably
That
more
is beautiful.
sparingly. It's absolutely
It's really
beautiful.
good. You just
and that
sprayed,
is.
you sprayed it very unsparingly. haven't you?
But I can't tell you the number of times I've said to somebody, "Oh my God, you smell amazing," and they've gone Portrait of a Lady. And I think the thing about
When are we going to get, I'm going to ask you this because it's wonderful Floral Street as a new innovative brand are doing this, but I remember a few weeks ago I was with Lila at duty free in another country, and they were like, you could buy sets of those little small bottles, so Prada would do all their fragrances.
Yeah.
And I, think there's just one she wants to try in that.
Yeah.
So when are those big companies going to actually give those minis as you can just buy the one? Because that's
I
a
wish,
move
I
forward,
wish,
you know?
absolutely.
Otherwise
absolutely,
it's like a marketing
absolutely,
tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have those minis often in Perfume
You
Society
do?
boxes as,
Okay.
as the actual minis.
Yeah.
But and you know that on the Perfume Society website you'll find dozens of different sets from brands to buy.
Yeah.
But not the kind of big brands yet. Those are
Go and nudge
generally
them. Go and nudge them, Jo. You have a bit of
weirdly,
influence
you can generally
here.
only find them in duty free.
I know.
You can't find them in Selfridges or John Lewis.
Or TK Maxx. Sorry, but TK Maxx have them there too. I'm just going to say, sometimes you go in there and you see all the Marc Jacob ones with all the little daisy and things on them.
Yeah.
And then, every girl of 15 who suddenly discovered fragrance wants that for Christmas. And it's something cheaper on TK Maxx. But
So fragrance, basically, you've got your amazing luxury fragrance that you wear if you're me on a special occasion to make you feel like I'm dressed up.
Yeah.
I'm going out. This is worth getting dressed for.
Yeah.
And then you've got your things that you wear to wake yourself up in the morning or to get in the mood for work.
Yep.
Right, I feel professional. I've got this. You know, there's another scent from Floral Street called Sublime, which I wear, and that's my going to work scent. That is literally like putting on a pair of heels and you know, a power shoulder. So and that's just a very
It's more
very
purposeful as well, a little bit.
It's
Okay.
a modern rose. It's one of those
There's
modern
so many
roses.
to try. That's it. We're done. Thank you, Jo. Will you come again and talk about other things? Because
talk
we
about
love
this-
talking about. We
talk
love
about
talking
this
with Jo, don't
forever.
we? I know you could. It's just. I want to go and buy so many things now.
Yes,
sneak in one more.
Everyone's asking. Is it true or false? If you can't smell the perfume on yourself, is it true that that means it suits you? Or is that an old wives' tale?
No, well, no, it's not necessarily that it suits you. I think what you should look for there is when people say, "Oh, you smell wonderful. What's that?" Or a taxi driver says, "Oh, you smell nice, love." And but what I think it means is that your nose has got too accustomed to it, and that is the argument that I would put for switching up your scent, because you're constantly surprising your sense of smell rather than it becoming like the wallpaper.
Yeah.
So if that does happen, I would say spray it on your clothes as well. You're more likely to be able to enjoy it yourself during the day on your clothes.
Yeah.
But you know, play around. The signature scent for me is a bit passé.
Old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't smell it anymore, time to find some new ones. Thank you so much, darling.
Thank you. Mwah.
She smells so good. And thank you everybody for watching. Next week, what are we doing next week?
Next week we are hyperpigmentation, post-summer skin.
Hyperpigmentation and post-summer
Ooh,
skin.
I'm
So
tuning into that.
if you've been away for your summer and there's a little bit of naughty sun tanning going on and you're thinking, oh, I love my tan, but then we're going to find you some solutions. So we'll speak to you then. Bye.